I signaled to you.
No, you did.
I did.
Where? Would you use your left hand like behind the computer? No. When you point your computer.
Well, I don't want to just show on the camera too.
Well, find a neutral zone. I can't tell that you pointed.
Well, I don't know.
We're wasting time. We've got a VIP with us here tonight.
Yeah.
Steve from Gloucester is with us. Steve, thank you so much for joining us on the Leeches podcast.
Anytime. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
So have you talked to Alice at all, like on video, or have we had
Not on video, no. I mean, in the past, just messages on the burn barrel, but never on the message.
Right, just on chat or in the chat for the Burn Barrel show. Which
that was it. But
I feel like before we go further, should we address Steve's alleged betrayal of the Burn Barrel podcast?
Yeah, what happened? I don't know what's going on
here. It wasn't really alleged, Alice. It was very overt. He told us. He gave us each a kiss on the cheek, and then said,
Look, all you're doing is helping Montante and Morgan, because these are the two guys that are always saying that there was a betrayal. So I don't know what's going on there.
They made it. Yeah, the betrayer doesn't usually tell you when he's going. He's like, it was out of a spirit of not betraying you. I'm going to move away from you overtly out of respect for you, which I thought was I thought it
was professional. Like I gave a notice. Like I did the right thing.
I agree. It was, and he's on the ascent, and Kirk had essentially said you got to choose, and he chose.
Right.
Alice, I would leave you
to be on the KMS
to whatever it takes.
Well, I have to admit the decision was really easy when Alice was talking about Taylor Swift. Remember that whole week that she was saying like how great Taylor Swift was. That made my decision a little bit easier. Yeah. Of course, along with Kirk, but that nudged me that way.
Oh yeah, no, Taylor Swift has been just through the house the last 10 days since the new album came out, and all her stuff sounds very Taylor Swifty. And I'm just like, I don't hate her music whatsoever, but I can deal with not having it in my life as much as it is, because
it's kind of been 24/7.
Alice and my daughter. But
and
by the way, do we think it's bizarre that Portnoy loves Taylor Swift so much?
Of course not. Man has an eye for talent. I think we can agree on that.
Well, he has an eye for shitty dogs too. So I don't get that. It's like so.
Yeah.
Maybe Dave's one of these guys who's so alpha that he's really not alpha.
Yeah, he's comfortable enough to admit that Taylor Swift is awesome without needing to perform that he's like too manly and cool to like Taylor Swift.
Well, I think it's the flavor of the week. It's Caitlin Clark, Taylor Swift. Like, it's just whatever comes up in the media.
Well, he's a regular guy. He likes what regular people like. He doesn't have to pretend to be like highbrow and special.
No,
like,
he's not. I don't expect him to like Schubert, Alice. I expect him to more like AC/DC. But whatever. It's anyway. We have to get to the important stuff here, Steve. So you are taking. No, let's start with Portland. There is.
Okay.
Cinema Lord, right? That's the guy who's saying that you spilled the beans in Portland about what you encased.
No, that was McFuff Daddy. I have a list of people that I call the social media seagulls that love to come at me. So it is quite a bigger list now. But McFuff Daddy is the one who claimed that I was a rat.
And did you say anything to him beforehand, like wink, wink, about what was going on?
Absolutely not. Nope. Right. I would never say anything. Kirk had called me the week before the show, maybe, I think maybe 5 days before, told me what was going to happen and said, it's a code of omerta. You cannot tell anybody. And I didn't. I went to the rehearsal. I went to the Westin. I saw you and Montante and BA. I hung out with you guys.
Yeah.
And then I went over to the other side of the bar and, watched the UConn game with Casey Smith, Jeff Lowe, Cullinane. We just had a little area over there, and Red from Maine was there, and Ziggy.
Yeah.
And I didn't see anything. And what I found I was thinking about this. He waited a couple of weeks to all of a sudden come up with the story, and he had moved to the other network and all of a sudden concocted this fairy tale. I had put out a couple of consistency podcasts. He was in a group chat with me and Kirk. He, could have got in touch with the producers, and he waited 2 weeks to all of a sudden say, "Oh, this is what he said in Portland."
Yeah.
I'm like, That's like getting your car stolen and then waiting 2 weeks to report it. Like,
Yeah.
why
Well, so
would you do
Steve,
that?
do you know what McFuss Daddy does for a living? What does he do for a living?
He's a pizza guy.
Okay, okay, gotcha. Okay, because I'm thinking that's like kind of really pretty
He's a pizza
canny,
guy, yeah.
pretty canny promotion,
Mhm.
to roll out his his debut or
His
return.
Mentor's Network debut.
Yeah,
With
with a breaking piece of
Intel,
salacious.
yeah.
Yeah, that is good. That is certainly a good move. It is a move that could get you deleted from Kirk immediately, because that is a
Oh, of
felony.
course. And you know what I remember too was, I think it was last year, that our buddy Montante
Yes.
said something about Kirk and the
Yeah.
casket, and I remember how much he got crucified during that. Kirk came down on him, so I'm like,
Yeah.
why am I going to make that mistake? And
No,
I've held a lot of secrets in my life. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of people tell me things, and I'm like, no, a secret is a secret.
Yeah, and I have to say that I specifically remember one of my first takeaways of first meeting you at that bar was the fact that you had as almost part of your opening salutation.
Mhm.
By the way, yeah, I am doing something, but I can't tell you anything about it.
I remember you told me that too
Yeah.
when I texted you and was like, how is things going? And he's like, well, Steve from Gloucester can't tell me anything, like,
Right.
because he's doing something big and important with the show.
Yeah.
And
And
like,
that was the main message that I had for everybody.
Right.
Hey, do you have anything going on with the show? Yes, I was at rehearsal, but I can't tell you what's going on. You have to watch the show for yourself.
Yep. And it was this.
And that was a standard line that I told everybody.
Yes, and it was this disclaimer that was embedded in your your socializing, and it seemed to me at the time it's like that's his humble brag way of saying,
yeah,
you
he
know,
felt like
which would be perfectly normal, to say.
Tom
But
would say that too.
I'm
sorry, I can't tell you anything.
Yes. Oh, I would totally do it. Although no, I'd probably just tell everybody and then never even make it into the show.
You may, but yeah, no. A code of silence is a code of silence. I would never ever betray Kirk.
So we know that's BS, and he's made it up so that he can do his, so that he can for his debut. I do respect the marketing aspect of it. The fact that it's meant to also at the same time take you out possibly is kind of vicious. But so now get to why you've left or suspended your time in the KMS world.
Well, there's a lot going on behind the scenes in my personal life that I really can't get into.
Yep.
But I just need to focus in on my life. There's a lot of critical and potential life-altering events coming up over the next week. Some good, some not so good.
Okay.
And I just can't give attention to the show as much as I normally do. I mean, I like to listen to the show twice, and then I listen to the Unnamed show twice. I listen, to you guys, the Burn Barrel, All You Can Eat, and I like to develop a good dialogue and come up with a good idea. And I just find that over the next couple of weeks, I'm just not going to be able to do that. And in talking to people behind the scenes, they said, hey, it may not be a good look to be on right now. And especially with the person they want me to go in with. They said, look, see if you can cancel it, postpone it, come up with a reschedulement. And that's pretty much what I tried to do.
So according to Kirk, this is Cinema Lords, and you didn't want to go with him because he was an a-hole at Gritty's, or just weird, whatever. And and then when you kind of hedged it being in with him, Kirk said, "Oh, forget it then, just call it whatever." And then you kind of retroactively then offered to come in anyway, but that's shut down now.
Well, the Cinema Lords thing is really strange because I have never had a problem with him. I don't even really know who he is. And if you look at his timeline on Twitter, like every other post seems to be like about me or critical of me. And a couple months ago, he was on the show very critical about me. And I reached out to him and said, hey, I don't know who you are. I'm not sure what I've done to you. I would like to talk and listen and learn. Never responded. And then what I found funny was in Portland, he also had the chance to talk to me. I would have bought him a drink and we would have talked. And that opportunity came and went. And then, he, I guess, got really upset that I was on Mike and the Minifans that Friday night at Gritty's, to the point that Kirk and Blind Mike noticed it and mentioned it to me the next day. And they said he was really upset with you. And I was like, first, I don't know this gentleman. And
Yeah, but
second,
why?
if I knew how upset he was, he could have went up before me. Like, I really don't know where this
so
is
he was
coming
jealous.
from.
He wanted to be up there.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to be up there. He was on the list as one of the people who were invited to go on the show.
Okay.
And Kirk had came in and he shut down the show after like 35 minutes.
Yes.
Right.
And Blind Mike had mentioned that he was on the list, like him, BA, Montante, maybe a few other people that he wanted to get up there. And, Kirk came in and stopped the show. And you can't tell Kirk, like, hey, we still have another 3 or 4 guests.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm sorry, Kirk. We're not stopping yet because we have to get Cinema Lords on here. Like we have to give the people what they want. Like, no, Kirk's the attraction, guys. Once he's come and gone, the pre-show for Kirk is over then.
So this is
now we need the main event. And that's the funny thing is, like, I mean, Tom, you met me in Portland. Mm-hmm. There isn't anything about me that would say, like, I want to stir the pot. I'm a mean person. I have negative things to say about people in general. So I don't know why it's so one-sided. And just with all the timing of things, the interpretation that I got from, people outside of the world is like, hey, this might be a bad look to come in this week with all the stuff you have going on.
Yeah. So
the advice would be to not do it. And that's all it was.
Right. And so Cinema Lords would make that, would complicate that even more, because there's another dynamic of a guy with some kind of beef with you. So in other words, if you were, this week doing anything else that takes up that kind of brain space, you would also suspend that until you get through this personal stuff.
Yeah, and the last thing I need is another confrontation in my life, and I'm not confrontational at all. I mean, you guys saw the interview with Menners and with Gus. I'm just really a nice person, so it's hard for me to go into a confrontation when I don't have anything against the other person. Like, I would be coming up with things for the sake of coming up with things, because I genuinely don't dislike this person. I think he's a very nice guy. He's good when he's on the show, and I'm like, what am I going to do? Come up with stuff?
I'm sorry, we're gonna have to let Alice Shattuck in for a second here, because she is.
Go ahead, Alice. I know you have different opinions,
I've
but
never
I
loved him on the show. I've always been irritated by his attitude of like, oh yeah, I work 15 hours a week or something, and he's like, I can't take on more of this podcast because it takes up too much of my time. A podcast where he shoots the shit with his friends about movies for once a week, and doesn't have kids. I find it astonishing, the level of lack of motivation and but I don't know. I just live in a different world. Tom and I both work full-time jobs. We have 5 kids. We record 3 different podcasts. We're running out. I just find it shocking to be wow, this is taking a lot out of my life. It's funny to me, but
yeah, we all have things to do. We're all busy. We all have a lot of life developments and goals and things that take up our time. So it's very simple.
Yeah, so I've always found it to be I've always found it super slacker mentality, almost laziness kind of. But
well, because he works at the glass place for 3
mostly for his dad, 3 days a week or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, he owns the company, and co-owns or however it works, and they seem to be successful. I mean, I saw that behind the third chair thing that he had with Justin, and seems like they do okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. It rubbed me the wrong way from the first time he was on the show ever. So I never got past it. But that's
well, maybe you should go in on Thursday.
Maybe
you might be better in there than I would have been.
Maybe, who knows? But yeah, and I don't know. I'm a big family person. I think people should all have a million kids.
I do not. I'm sure you.
I do. I think people should settle down, have kids, not but maybe that's just a young people today thing.
Is there going to be a number? You guys going to be the Brady Bunch with 6, or is 5 it?
Tom says no.
Well, 0 was it as far as I was concerned in 2010. But yeah,
Yeah, no, Tom refuses to take proactive steps to make that happen.
I'm not getting
so.
surgery, Steve. No, I'm not getting surgery because my wife is entrapping me. No. When I move on, now that Steve and Casey Smith have moved on, when I move on to Casey Smith, I am going to. We're going to have a new.
You're going to have more kids then?
Well, she's independently wealthy, probably. She's probably got a ton of money.
I would imagine, yeah. Yep.
Oh, good. Yeah, you wouldn't want to lose your chance.
He makes a decent living at Barstool for sure.
Okay, let's say the other thing I wanted to go into is Mick, Beyond Average Mick. He's out too.
He's leaving too. I know. This is just a new development now after the Chicago
I may have been on the last episode, but maybe I was the thing that made him say, "What am I really doing with my life?"
It's been a wild weekend with I saw a message that the KMS Rundown guys aren't going to be recording. Myself and now Mick is just wild how everything really did like a 360 in one weekend. It's really shocking.
Well, yeah, and also, you're like you and Mick are really good source show content source. Like they use you. Coleman and Justin scrape audio from your podcast, the Consistency podcast, like every time you do it, and Mick stuff too, because Mick goes a little nuts during it. And I think that's I think Mick is a very talented guy. I think that's sucks. And if his brother and mom have had the come to Jesus moment with him or something, I don't know, because they don't respect his podcast or what he's doing. I think that's terrible. I think he's a talented dude. He's obviously a little nuts, but I mean, everybody who's really talented is pretty much a little nuts.
But do you think this stuff is related to the show Kirk did?
No, I wouldn't think.
I don't know. I know he reached out to me yesterday, and I didn't see it. But then I saw his message today, and I was like, so I texted him back and asked him if he was okay and if he wanted to talk, because I know he had asked me yesterday to talk, and I haven't heard back from him. So I do hope everything's okay.
Yeah, so do I. It's just it's tough.
Yeah, because he had posted.
He said it's been a great 4 years. Like, geez, that's really final.
Yeah, but he also posted, after yesterday, Kirk is the only person in that studio who was welcomed on the Beyond Average podcast. So it almost felt like he was mad at Dan Katz or something.
Well, I think, it was Jeff and Big Cat on Friday, and I'm getting the impression, that maybe something went on,
well, because Big Cat talked about him, right?
Yeah.
Do you think he didn't like that? Was that the issue?
He took things the wrong way. And, and that's Mick sometimes. He goes from 0 to 100.
Yeah.
And, the one thing, I talked to him about it once, not directly, but I kind of gave a little bit of a life lesson to him, is like, the cards are shuffled up and dealt every day. You get a new hand every day, and it's up to you on how you want to play it.
I love that, Steve.
And I think sometimes Mick just takes things a little too literal, and I just think he doesn't take the time to really process it before he reacts. And this might be another occasion in which he did that.
And yeah, I think that's very possible. Of course, that's probably one of the things that makes him good on the air, is that he's volatile and that he's seeing how many times somebody's trying to F him, or he feels it. I mean, that could be really entertaining for as a host.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the stuff with his brother and the $200, and then the window incident with The Rock. I mean, those things are classic Mick. And walking out of the studio. I mean,
that's a big one.
That's the Mick that you really enjoy. But hopefully it's just something that set him off and he'll return. I think it's, hopefully it's just that, and it's not anything more serious.
Well, you know what it could be, Steve, is that it could be that the finality of losing his 7-year-long relationship could hit him. Just suddenly, something triggers it, and you say, "Holy God!" It's like that's all gone. Maybe it's what I said to him.
What did you say?
I told him that, and I believe this. It's tragic to lose a girlfriend like that for 7 years, because all of your joined experiences, everything, the joint experiences that you've had, all get deleted. They're gone forever. If you never see her again, that's gone. That's 7 years worth of stuff. It's like losing a parent. Everything that you and the parent has had, it's not quite as bad, obviously. Everything you and the parent had is gone. And that's one of the things that makes you sad about when your dad dies or your mom dies. Like, all our things together have been just deleted. It's freaking cold. Yeah. It's cold stuff.
Yeah, and you're like me, Tom. You're an orphan, right? You've lost both your parents.
Yes.
Yeah, so you know how it is when it's just that silence and they're gone, and you're like, "What happened? Why are they not here?" So it could be the same way with him, and with his relationship. Like, you go from, texting, talking, going out, hanging out, and then it's like, wait a minute, I'm eating dinner by myself. It's a big transition.
Yeah, all the things we used to have, and that remember that song?
Somebody that I used to know.
Somebody that used to know. You get that feeling when you're in a relationship that, wow, is it someday could me and this woman who were so intimate with each other constantly and handsy and touchy and so close with, someday we'll be strangers? It's a horrifying thing, especially when you're young and in love. It's a horrifying thing. By the time you're 50.
Alice, do you think Tom had anything to do with it? Alice, do you think Tom had anything to do with it? Can we rule Tom out?
I don't think we can rule Tom. I mean, you're on the last show.
Yeah. That's not great.
You have to be Mick. A factor here.
Mick, I'm willing to amend my comments. Hey, Steve, I have to ask you another thing. What is all this stuff that they're saying? Are you going in, if you go in studio, are you going in studio with your lawyer? Because I've seen all these memes with, is your lawyer actually involved in KMS work?
I will say this. Yes. I have spoken to counsel on Friday and yesterday. And if I do decide to come back, I do have someone who has agreed to be counsel. I can't give that name away. I won't give that name away. But I don't think that person can be in studio, and I don't think I would be able to go to his location. So if I am welcome back first, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to go in that studio again. I would have counsel. I have retained somebody yesterday.
What is counsel's role, Steve, in the show?
He's going to be like Tom Hagen, in The Godfather, where he's going to whisper, give me that little advice, like, should I answer this? Should I not answer this? So
he'll have like an IFB to you. So you're going to defer to him first, and then he'll tell you the leeway you have in answering it.
Yes. It's somebody new who I retained, and I can't give away the information. But in my real, I do have other people that have also said, hey, this is not a good week. I mean, that's simply all it was. They're making it out to be like this huge thing, but it's like, there's things I'm working on, like, to try to better myself in my life. Yes. And I bring up certain people in my conversations, and they're like, maybe this may not be the right time to engage this person on the show. And then I have another person saying, hey, you got a lot more things that are time sensitive right now. You may not want to be doing this at this moment. And really, that's all it came down to.
I think I get you. In that case. Yeah. I think, yes. I can imagine that if you've got counsel maybe for other matters, that maybe they'd also say, just as your representative here, that maybe lay low, and just for a couple of weeks.
But I like how Jeff D. Lowe said the other day that I was putting together a dream team, and
it's great.
I can't confirm or deny that I'm putting together a dream team, but I did lock up one major player that I think is going to lead me to a better path when that day comes.
This is an attorney from Massachusetts.
I would like to assert my Fifth Amendment, Thomas.
Oh, wow. Is this an attorney?
I would like to assert my Fifth Amendment.
Counsel's there right now, Alex.
Okay.
Is this? So, okay. All right. Last thing is, I just want to quickly go over. We're not going to get anything out of him, Alice. You can't crack this nut. He's been lawyered up. You can tell.
I told you it's omerta, Tom. You have a code of silence and you stay by it.
Okay. Last thing I want to get to quickly is Kirk, when he was with Big Cat. This guy Cattle.
Mm-hmm. Nick Adams, yeah.
Yeah. Had you heard of him before?
No.
Steve?
Yes, I have. Just a little bit. I know, the football stuff that he does.
Oh, his own podcast on football. Oh, so the Pats
talk.
Yeah,
football. He's a big Patriots guy, and
Is he an EI guy? It doesn't say it on his Twitter bio if he
No,
is. He sounds like an
don't
intercom
know.
guy through and through. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I don't know if I heard that. I've heard his name. I don't know if he's more Sports Hub, but I don't know if he ever had a role on it. But I've heard his name before on 98.5.
Okay. So I've never met him. I don't think I've ever met him. Who knows? But I can tell you, having been in and around radio, there are 100,000 of these guys from coast to coast, and I don't understand why not every, with a few exceptions, most sports guys want to be very mediocre with a big sports voice, and they want to be, and like, let's go there. And I've worked with some of these guys, and they've done substitute things with me too. They're all the same. I don't know why you want to say, like, I'm going to spend 4 years, get a college degree, and be a perfectly mediocre ESPN kind of a sporty guy. And I don't radio guy with it. They're very mediocre. I don't really respect those guys. But like guys, Mutt's one of those guys, and Mutt's a great guy, I think I've been told.
Yeah.
And like, there's a lot of those guys. A lot of those guys used to work for Metro Traffic, the Sports Flash guys, back when 20 years ago when I was at RKO/EEI, and they were great, cool guys. But a lot of them, like, they were taught in broadcast school to have affectations and do whatever. It was just whatever. Some of the guys I got along with who were pretty funny, few and far between. One of the guys, James Ryan, who was an old AAF DJ, went on to do traffic for the radio show I was on, and we would mess around. And so, like, one time I told him to try to insert the name of rock bands into the next traffic update, and he said, and he did the traffic update, and which is totally irresponsible, but a cool radio thing to do. He was like, "Oh, and the 128 South, a Faster Pussycat has been found and caught, thankfully, and is let up." It was great. For the sake of like our game, he was lying. No, he wasn't lying. I take that back in case James Ryan is in the market. But anyway, so let's play a little bit of this. This is Kirk going back and forth because this guy had a dumb take. Kirk called him out. This guy said, "F you, Minahan, whatever." And as usual, these symmetrical.
Well, and he claimed that he was being canceled, like Kirk had been by Murchison.
Yeah, it's really
because Kirk like criticized his take on Twitter.
It was really pathetic. And then, of course, he comes with Kirk in the bright lights and intimidation factor of Kirk. Bang! Down go the cojones of this guy.
You say nobody has the right to call me an idiot. Kirk's never met me. He doesn't know me from a hole in the wall. He can disagree with my opinion of throwing a public shot at me via this cesspool of a site. You're telling me that was I missed the humor and then in the that's a joke?
No.
Well, you said earlier there was.
Eat shit thing. So again, my eat shit thing was a flippant thing, right? Okay. And then I don't know what was the tweet before that? What am I responding to?
I have no idea. But when you say nobody has a right,
come on. Nobody has a right. Hold on. You can't do that. Like, you can't say this was your response. This is what you tweeted, and you're not looking at the other tweets that I was getting. Like that. That's.
You think I'm looking at all the tweets that you're getting? I don't care about the tweets you're getting. Well, who cares?
Hold on. You just told me I should sit back and engage with everybody for 3 hours.
Well, what do you mean?
It's all. You don't look at all the tweets.
You think I'm looking at all the tweets that Nick Haddle sketch for Minifans? What do I care?
You just said what I said.
Nick, it's the most engagement you've ever gotten in your life. Enjoy it. Have fun with it. Who cares?
I am. That's why I'm on the show, Kirk. I'm fine with it. But
when you say nobody has a right to call me an idiot, why? Who cares? People call me an idiot all the time. I'm an idiot. You're an idiot sometimes. We're all idiots. Who cares?
Yeah. No, I mean, and I would say it's idiotic or whatever. Like I just think when you call somebody an idiot, when you call somebody an idiot, it's a personal shot, right? Like if you
really, I mean, like
you don't think it is
calling I think somebody an idiot? Like yeah, sure, but it's not like personal. Like the thing about Belichick, I think, is idiotic. So I'm like, God, this idiot should be on the because I mean, you're just trying to get engaged with a take like that. You're going after Belichick. You're waving your
hold on.
No problem.
So now here is the problem already with this is that in this, and you guys can't see it, but I'm sure most people have watched it. Kirk is kind of slouched in his chair, his hands in his pocket. He couldn't be more comfortable. This guy, Cattles or whatever, is squirming. He is absolutely feeling the intimidation, and Kirk's toying with him. He's letting him live, but at some point, the Cattles tries to like pull the shut up, dude. Like we've both been in this business. Tries to make himself equivalent to Kirk.
Cool. Yeah.
And Kirk laughs in his face, which I could never do to somebody, like laugh in their face. Well, first of all, I don't have the career Minahan has, but I wouldn't even if I did, to laugh in somebody's face is like that's a I don't respect you, spit in the face kind of move. That said, I think with Kirk, it was just impulse reflex. He thought it was so funny that this guy was desperately trying to equate himself and sign on. It's just you and me, Kirk.
Which is fine. You're trying to make a living, but that's
Kirk, that's not what I do. See, look, I know you don't know me, right? Obvious, right? You don't know me much.
No.
If you knew me, you wouldn't say what you just said. So this is the problem, and this is why the absurdity of Twitter. Somebody sees something that they disagree with, and they immediately jump to, "Oh man, you're just trolling," or "Oh man, you're just trying to get engagement. You're just trying to get people." Actually, that's how I feel. Like Bill Belichick sitting down with Roger Goodell last night is hilarious on every level. It's absurd.
So you're not trying to get.
He's playing 3D chess. In other words, is what he's saying here. Anyway, you knew that, and I'll put this to you, Steve. You knew that this guy had no shot with Kirk because he comes from a falsified place. He comes from a contrived, personality. I mean, this big sports, now we tell it like it is. And yeah, I can get crazy with you too, Kirk, but that's all an act. So in Kirk's thing is to be uncomfortably raw and real. And this guy's no shot at getting to him.
No, not at all. What you have in Nick Cattles is a cookie cutter sports guy, and he tried to go after the best. And you can't do that, especially with Kirk. He will absolutely just make hay with you. Like, he will just dominate you, because the one thing that Kirk has that these people don't have is a personality. And he doesn't take it like it wasn't a critical shot at this guy. Like, he called him an idiot. It's not a big deal.
It's like, imagine creating this like huge court case over being called an idiot on Twitter, heaven forbid. And it's like, if you're gonna go out here and do this and put your takes out here, like, I'm so crazy, I'm gonna call Bill Belichick a hypocrite, see? And then you can't be upset if somebody calls you an idiot. And then he's doing the act, and I hate this too, and a bunch of people who think that they're journalists do this all the time too. This site's such a cesspool. This is Twitter, you can't, nobody can get along on here. No, Elon Musk has ruined this. We're just so divisive, man. Like, you had a take. You're trying to get attention. Just go with it. If you want to say something, like, you want, this is what you're asking for when you go put an opinion out on Twitter. And then to do this, like, soccer injury, like, "Oh, I've been hit, you called me an idiot, that's a personal shot, you don't have the right to say that to me." Like, it's the internet.
And Alice, all the time, don't you find that they always play the greatest hits and they bring up Murchison? I mean, that's the worst thing that you could say to Kirk is like, "Hey, remember the Murchison thing?" Or is this another? It's like, no, don't go down that route with Kirk, because you're going to lose every single time.
Well, another one that they think when they feel hurt, they think it ruins him and just levels Minahan, is when they say he's a Howard Stern ripoff. Minahan's just a Howard Stern ripoff. And by the way, Kirk does have he has borrowed from Howard Stern, just kind of the way he says a few words. But so has 20,000 other radio people since 1985 when Howard Stern became huge. Everybody, just like in talk radio, people have borrowed from Rush. But that's 1% of the Kirk stuff. It's the other 99% that differentiates him from all the other Howard Stern lovers out there who went into radio.
Exactly. And he's acknowledged that. Like, I used to listen to Howard a lot. And it's like you said, a lot of people listen to Tucker Carlson. They're like, okay, let me try to have a monologue like him because I want to be the next Tucker. I mean, it's just, it's only 1% of maybe what he does overall. I mean, but Kirk's his own guy, and he's really good at what he does. Right. And when you go in the ring against him, you're not going to win. So I don't know what Nick Cattles was thinking of even entering the ring against him.
I know. So it's like, also with Nick, it's like, okay, if Kirk is untalented but is just simply copying Howard Stern, then go right ahead and you do it too.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
Right? If it's that easy.
He was so nervous and he was so rattled, Tom. He reminded me of you when you went into the studio a couple months ago. I mean, you were totally off your game. What was going on there?
Not in studio. It's been a year and a half since I've been in studio.
You were off your game. I mean,
what? That is bull. That is absolutely bull. Looking at it, I look like Bill the Cat. And I'm looking at it now, like if I look, or it shows up in the feed, like I'm like, holy God, I do look like I was on something. I was not off my game. How dare you?
Alice, what do you think? Was he good that day? I found Tom to be really nervous, and he was just off.
I think it was a pretty fair representation of Tom, like the Tom that you get. I think it's weird because I do think on our podcast, I'm a bit of a moderating influence on Tom's manic behavior.
I don't think
Mhm.
Listen to the end. There's a show from the other day where I had to leave to go pick up a kid or whatever. And there's one of our podcasts where Tom's on his own on there. And there's long pauses. He's like, like he's just like that. But people say that about Tommy on the show. Like, was he on drugs or whatever? And I'm like, no, that's just what he's like.
Thank you, Alice. It's a loving testimonial. Thank you.
He was on radio and he's trying to get to the commercial. Like,
this is
long pauses. Maybe I can get to the break.
All right, we're putting an end to this roast.
The
Steve.
show's over.
So Steve, we're going to hear from you again after some business is done.
Yeah, I would say, June. I'm targeting June to be the next time that the Consistency podcast will be back.
Okay.
Hopefully, yeah.
Okay, ideally June. So there you go. Steve from Gloucester, always a pleasure, my friend. Let's get together soon.
Thank you, guys. Absolutely.